And and welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. PrideofDetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. You know where to find us. Get this right now. This is the Pride of Detroit PODcast because, you know, Pride of Detroit, you abbreviate that. It's POD. First three letters of podcast is POD, so we call it the PODcast. We haven't explained it in a very long while, and I figured like some of our new audience probably needs a refresher on that. I, as always, am your adequate host, Chris Perfett. Find me on Twitter at Chris Perfett, Perfett. We always have to spell it out for some one reason or another. And as always, joining me is the fearless leader, Jeremy Reisman, the managing editor of, editor-in-chief.
Hey,
the editor-in-chief of Pride of Detroit.
Yes, sir.
At Detroit Online is where you find him on Twitter. Let me explain what happened that caused me to no, you know what, we'll save it for the jerking around segment. Like I have a hair in my throat, but either way, real quick, first off, let's get the third man in here, our main man, Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Introduce me properly, though. I'm the senior editor at Pride of Detroit.
Senior editor. Oh, I'm a senior editor too. I should be, or at least I don't know.
We can be whatever. We can be whatever we want. I gave myself that title.
That's true.
Kind of true.
That is very true. We're just giving ourselves titles here. It's like we've just conquered some godforsaken country in the middle of nowhere, and we're just, you know, I'm Generalissimo of Pride of Detroit.
There you go.
So real quick, if you haven't done it yet, you can listen to this podcast before or after you do this, but we just had a podcast go out. It is live on all feeds. We talked with Deuce Staley on Friday, the Lions running backs coach and assistant to the head coach for your Detroit Lions. Fantastic interview. It's only about 20 minutes long. You should definitely go listen to it. He was very enlightening. He was very funny. He was very witty. It was a great interview. And he loves all our facial hair, all of our facial hair, not just Jeremy's mustache. He liked my goatee. He liked whatever, you know, Ryan's got a mustache going on now as well. He was very charged up. He was a lovely human being, and we were very glad to have Deuce.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can get him back one day because, yeah, he checked all the boxes like Barry Sanders checked all his boxes.
Yep.
This is also officially the Three Amigos podcast.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
That's right. We got a new name from him. So, yeah, Three Amigos. That's what we do. Do we need hats or no?
The sombreros, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. Which one of us is? I forget who's in Three Amigos. Actually,
I'm not Chevy Chase. That's I call not Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
I'll be.
Oh. Let's get away from.
Okay, let's just get into free agency, huh?
Yeah, so guess what? We are on the countdown. Why we are for those watching us live on Twitch and on YouTube, where you can watch us live or download the podcast afterward on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. But why are we? If you're watching us live, you realize we are doing this on what is early Saturday. We are recording Saturday around noon for the East Coast people, 9 a.m. for me over on the West Coast. Why are we doing it here? Why are we not doing it our usual time? Well, because the league calendar year is impending. It is counting down upon us. The new league calendar year is almost here. 4 days, to be precise, from this recording. Tampering period begins on Monday, and then free agency proper begins on Wednesday, and we are expecting a lot of news. We have some news that has already happened, which we'll break down, but we want to go position by position as we look at the Lions and anticipate what they could be doing with free agency. And I think that is what we have decided upon, what we have stamped, and what we have tentatively agreed on without coming to blows. So
not yet,
we're going to do that.
We might get to blows when we talk about tight ends, but we'll get there.
Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. But I think so. I think what I want to do here is we've got a bunch of positions lined up on offense and defense, and I think I want each of us to kind of take lead on each one as we go around here. So I'll take it off the top if you don't mind, talking about one of my favorite positions, quarterback.
No changes happening at quarterback this offseason, right?
So, yeah, funny you should say. So, in case you missed it, Lions have a new quarterback who is not in danger of being cut for free agency. So keep your guns holstered there. But we get to talk about Jeremy's favorite topic, which is backup quarterbacks. Lions currently on the roster have Chase Daniel and David Blah. So the Lions tried to get some interest going up there on Chase Daniel. He might still be on the block. Some teams out there might want a veteran backup and might be willing to give up a seventh rounder. Yeah,
dang, you had me excited for a second there, Chris.
No. Like, they might give up a seventh rounder, but the advantage for the Lions is that you'd get rid of Chase Daniel's contract.
Right.
I don't think there's many people on the market, as I said in a previous podcast, but I could see a team like the Chargers, who are currently without a backup quarterback, to sophomore Justin Herbert, taking that on. But we're looking at Blau, we're looking at Daniel. Do you guys see what do you guys foresee happening here?
Well, I think if they can't trade Chase Daniel, and I really, given that contract, I just don't think it's going to happen. He's got a $4.3 million base. That's kind of ridiculous to pay for Chase Daniel. I think the Lions are going to release him, to be honest. I don't think, I mean, once you put the guy on the trade block and it hits it publicly, like, he's done. Like, it's a last-ditch effort to try to drum up some excitement before you plan on releasing him. He'll save $2.3 million in cap, so I think it's a foregone conclusion that he's gone. The question is, what do you do then? Is David Blau your backup? Do you go out and get someone? Do you draft someone? But since this is a free agency podcast, let's talk about free agency. A lot of people have already connected the dots. Tyrod Taylor, obviously, he's got the Anthony Lynn connection. My question with him is just, do you want to spend that much money on a backup? He's not going to be exorbitantly expensive, but like $4, $5, $6 million. I don't think the Lions are in a good spot to be spending that much on a backup quarterback, because who cares about your backup quarterback in 2021? Like, to put bluntly, who cares about your backup quarterback in 2021? Why is that important? To me, it's not. So David Blau's number 2 is fine with me.
Yeah, I take the same approach, Jeremy, as you do when it comes to backup quarterback this offseason. I think it's most important for the Lions to have somebody who's developmentally there, and David Blau fits that bill. If the Lions are going to go with an option, you mentioned Tyrod Taylor. You know, PFF has his prediction for a contract to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 2 years, $10 million, $5 million guaranteed at signing, maybe $5 million total guaranteed. Or maybe they look at a guy like Jacoby Brissett, and they have his projection at like 2 years, $14 million. So that's even, slightly more expensive. But I just don't think that an approach where the Lions grab one of these coveted backup quarterbacks that are veterans, that are really better suited for teams that maybe have playoff aspirations and need a, backup emergency plan. I just don't think that really fits the Lions bill. So, I foresee them, cutting bait with Chase Daniel and maybe drafting a quarterback, maybe another developmental quarterback that they can stash on the practice squad, maybe late in the draft. Sure. I think that's a viable option. Or hey, just draft a quarterback at 7.
That could happen. Plenty of the Lions, I know some of the Lions staff was already watching the North Dakota State Pro Day, and they were keeping an eye on Trey Lance. And I've seen plenty of good conversation about Trey Lance. I haven't developed my own opinion on him yet. People are saying the arm is better than I think we are giving him credit for, but we always have to remember Pro Days are designed to make you look good. So that's going to be one of the hard struggles of looking at anyone this draft class. But day 3 quarterback, that was always the Bob Quinn special, and we could totally see it probably this year with Brad Holmes. I think that's within the realm. Yeah,
sure. Jeremy, one last question about quarterback that I have is, how valuable do you think it is to have a veteran quarterback behind Jared Goff to help make him successful? Because there is so much made about Chase Daniel being here to, help Matthew Stafford get prepared for game days on Sunday. And I mean, there's something intangible, like there's an intangible quality to that, but do you think that's important to help Jared Goff be successful in his tenure in Detroit?
It's something that I think most teams like to have. I hate to I hate to assume about what coaching roles will be, but I do think that Mark Brunell might cover some of that. You got a former player in there that knows how to look at the game in the same eye as a player. Not that far removed from a playing career. I know it's been a decade or so, but yeah, I mean, I think there's potential that they'll want someone like that, like someone who ideally has ties to Anthony Lynn, so he can give him direct language of how his offense is going to be. I think that's why the Tyrod Taylor connection makes a lot of sense, just in terms of person, not necessarily contract. But I mean, I just, like I said, I don't think the price tag is worth it if you got a player's coach like that already there.
Let's move on to running back. I'm going to let Jeremy take the reins on running back here.
Yeah, sure.
Or actually, I feel like I should let Ryan do it just because he asked the good questions to Deuce.
Oh, and because I hate running backs, is that why? That's the real reason,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Ryan, we've seen Ryan's prep work. Ryan was like been waiting 4 years to ask Deuce those questions. So I feel like with Deuce's answers in hand, he can answer the running back position. And then I'll let Jeremy get to wide receivers.
Yeah, the running back situation is, I hate to use this word, but it is a little bit confounding because you have DeAndre Swift, who everybody wants to be the 3-down back, and I just don't think the NFL operates like that anymore. So I think it's just as important to have a viable backup solution. And if you listen to our chat yesterday with Deuce Staley, he thinks that guy is Kerryon Johnson. I think that he called him a complete back, and I agree with him, especially in his abilities. Now it's just his availability. I always pound the table for that being the most important quality or attribute of a player. And if Kerryon Johnson can stay healthy, I think for 16 games, I think that he's an extremely valuable asset to this team. And I definitely see him being a part of the 2021 Detroit Lions. Now, beyond that, that's where things get a little bit sticky. Nick Bawden, Jason Kabinda, do the Lions bring Adrian Peterson back? A bunch of good questions. I think that with Darrell Bevell moving on, maybe that writes Adrian Peterson off. I don't know if he ends up, maybe he follows him to Jacksonville. I mean, that could be a good fit for a team that has, James Robinson as their main back, have a veteran back like Adrian Peterson to complement him. So I guess my question for you, Jeremy, is at what value do you put a running back 3 and potentially a running back 2, because we don't know whether or not Kerryon Johnson can kind of, handle a full season?
Yeah, I mean, you know my general thoughts on spending a lot of resources on a running back, but I may surprise you here in that I do feel the Lions have a need to push Kerryon Johnson to compete with Kerryon Johnson for that RB2 job. I'm with you. I'd like to see Kerryon get a legitimate chance at it, but you also, I mean, you have to have a legitimate backup plan here, because while Kerryon Johnson played in all 16 games last year, it was as a third down back. It wasn't as a primary role. It wasn't as a secondary role.
Not a whole lot of snaps.
Not a whole lot of snaps. So, and he's got the knee brace on. I don't know if he'll still have the knee brace on, but like the knees are impacted. I was shocked. I was looking at this the other day. The dude is only 23 years old, but his knees might be 45. Like there's a legitimate concern there. So yeah, I do think free agency needs to be part of the equation here when it comes to running back. And I'm not asking them to go out and go get Todd Gurley because he's got a history with the Rams. I'm not necessarily even like Chris Carson. Like you look at a lot of these names and they're big names. I guess maybe the one that makes the most sense to me is like Malcolm Brown, a guy that they tried to pry from the Rams a couple years ago, but I don't know. There's not a lot of great options in free agency is I guess what I'm saying. So you get kind of a low to mid tier guy that's not going to cost you too much. I think a lot of free agency is going to look like that. You're looking for low to mid tier guys on 1 to 2 year deals. Hope that they can bridge the gap, and then in the meantime you build through the draft.
Does he have to fit a type though? I think that a lot of fans get caught up with that, and I'll throw this to Chris. But like there were so many years where it was like they need a short yardage goal line back. So then it's LeGarrette Blount, and then it's CJ Anderson. Do they need a guy that fits even Bo Scarborough, right? Like, do they need that short yardage back, or do they just need another talented running back?
I think that's a good question, because like we even talked about it when we were looking at Adrian Peterson. And by the way, I don't think Adrian Peterson's back. No way, no how. He's and not just because he held up a Tom Brady jersey when he was on with TMZ Sports and like, please, let me come to Tampa Bay. But I do think he is going to go chase a ring. I wrote his profile and think that Adrian Peterson's aspirations probably take him beyond Detroit at this point. I don't see him back. But everything Peterson could do, like we were talking about, it's that third down, get it over the line kind of back. Kerryon can do that. And I think that was what we kind of took away from Deuce, is that if Kerryon can do all that, if Kerryon's your Swiss Army knife, then you're just looking for a guy who can be just, a change of down back, or someone with just some talent to really, spruce things up around in Detroit. And it's funny enough, because you look at the market right now with running backs, and there's some familiar names on there. Like I see Theo Riddick's hitting the open market again. I don't know if the Lions would want anything to do with that again, but there's some names that could definitely be had for cheap. And I think the familiarity thing comes up, especially when you start to get into like fullbacks, and we look at that. And I don't know, that's the one thing I'm going to pose this to you once I'm done here, but I don't know if the Lions are going to go for a fullback. Everyone seems to carry a fullback anyway, though, and I couldn't really tell that with Deuce Staley. And I mean, honestly, though, it could be familiar names, because it could be, say, Michael Burt back again. Used to be with the Lions, but guess where he was prior to this offseason? That's right, the Saints.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the Lions, I think they probably should carry a fullback just for the full breadth of it.
I want to get back to the fullback talk when we talk tight ends, because Deuce Staley said something interesting about that yesterday, and I think it ties in with maybe some news that broke this morning. But we'll get back to that.
I think one name I would want to keep an eye on too, just real quick, Jeremy, is I'm trying to like find what he was kind of owed in the past, but I think, I keep looking at these former Steeler guys. I don't know why I keep coming there. I was doing it with wide receivers too, but James Conner is one of those names who is young, who you could probably get on a rental deal, who kind of bombed out with the Steelers, who's, again, he'd only be like 26, and you could really get him on kind of a prove-it deal. And again, all you would need for the Lions is just a few years, as you say, Ryan, to bridge that gap.
How about another Steelers name? Let's bring Le'Veon Bell home, huh? Finally get that Le'Veon Bell experience in Detroit. No, this offseason would be so much easier if Bob Quinn was still here. And the only reason I say that is because there's so many former Patriots running backs that are on the market. There's James White, Rex Burkhead, like they're all over the place. It would have been really easy to just to get things settled in, but I think there's some interesting names. I think there's, specifically, there are guys that have done it in the past that could come here and be on 1-year deals, like Mike Davis, for example, or maybe like a Carlos Hyde, or even a Tevin Coleman. I think that those are all guys who are projected to get like 1 year between $2 and $3 million deals. That are guys who have done it in the past, but have either, sustained injuries, or they've been passed up by better options at running back that other teams had on their depth chart. So I think one of those guys on a prove it type deal, it makes a lot of sense.
Let's move on to wide receivers real quick to kind of close out this segment on the podcast, and then we'll get to tight ends on the other side here. I'm going to leave it to Jeremy because I promised him the wide receivers. Clearly, he wants to talk tight ends too. So we'll do the snake draft oriented.
Perfect.
So.
Well, let's start with who's in house. They got Tyrell Williams, Quintus Cephas, Geronimo Allison, Victor Bolden, and Tom Kennedy signed right now. They got a heck of a lot of free agents, and and at this point, it looks like they're probably going to move on from all. Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola, Mohamed Sanu might be back, Jamal Agnew might be back. Hey, let's talk about those two really quickly. Mohamed Sanu, Jamal Agnew. Either of you guys have any interest in bringing them back?
I have interest in Jamal Agnew. I don't want to say it's a perverted interest, but at this point, like he's done kind of he's familiar with everything he needs. He is kind of that, he's that Swiss Army knife of a special teams player.
Yeah.
That is comfortable with what the Lions are. So I wouldn't mind seeing him back. I don't know about Sanu. Like he started the year on the practice squad, and obviously that's less about his talent and more just about like, but I don't I don't know what it is about Sanu where I'm just not ready to like really I think he'll want to go explore other options.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah. I'm interested in just kind of moving on and either drafting wide receivers or picking up again guys on prove it deals that can really bridge the gap. That's the motto of the 2021 Detroit Lions. Yeah. Bridge the gap.
Well, I think Sanu could potentially be that guy. He was a midseason addition and did an okay job here. I feel like he developed some chemistry with Matthew Stafford, and not that matters anymore because Stafford's obviously gone. But just in terms of like him being a wide receiver 4, that's fine. The problem though is the Lions need a wide receiver 1 at this point because I think maybe Tyrell Williams, peak is that, but even when he signed with the Raiders, it was more to be a wide receiver 2, and that's probably where he fits best. So the question becomes, do they target a wide receiver 1 in free agency? Which, I mean, on the surface, it actually sounds pretty ridiculous to me, not because it's not a need, but they had one in-house, and they decided not to pay him. So to go out and get and now there's not really that many options, right? Like Mike Evans signs or gets a franchise tag. Allen Robinson gets a franchise tag. Basically,
Chris Godwin got the franchise tag, but yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, Chris Godwin, not Mike Evans.
Yeah.
So you're left with like Juju Smith, Corey Davis, Will Fuller. Those are is that it? Like I think that's all your wide receiver 1 options. You guys targeting any of those guys?
And Juju's an interesting one just because that's not. I see Ryan shaking his head, but Juju, like it didn't really work out for him as that wide receiver 1 in Pittsburgh, right? Like it could probably be something on the cheap. Although I've been seeing conflicting reports about Juju Smith-Schuster, and I mean, for me, USC guy, so I'm just I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? But like on one hand, I'm seeing some reports just like, yeah, he's not come back to Pittsburgh. Whereas today, I believe I saw a report that the Steelers they're negotiating contract right now. It's kind of hard to tell availability for Juju Smith-Schuster. And again, like he's a guy who was doing fine as like a wide receiver 2 or 3. But then when he got to ask to be the guy in Pittsburgh, it just kind of fell flat for him. So I'm fascinated in that regard, but there's just not a lot of names out there. And to be honest, we've talked about it enough. It seems like this team could really do well to draft a wide receiver in the first 2 days. So going wide receiver in free agency, you're going to need a few just for depth, but wide receiver 1, I don't know.
I think that Juju Smith-Schuster had a Ben Roethlisberger problem. So
that is a good point too. That is a very good point.
So when you talk about what him or Corey Davis are going to get on the open market, why wouldn't you have just signed Kenny Galladay? Right. I mean, you're probably looking at like $15, $16, $17 million a year contracts for both of those guys. So I think wide receiver 1, I don't think that that's something that the Lions find in free agency. I think that's something that can be had at number 7. Absolutely. Some wide receiver names that really interest me though, are again, some of these guys that don't fit the wide receiver 1 role, but fit a particular position like Curtis Samuel. Eric Schlitt brought his name up. He would be rather affordable. Get him on like a 3-year, $25 million deal. Like the, Pro Football Focus suggests that could be your slot guy right there. If you want to go that route, maybe they go with a guy like Sammy Watkins. Depends on what he could be available in terms of price. Again, you can get a guy who can, move around in formations and do some things like that.
History with the Rams.
And then obviously the name that we've all said, Josh Reynolds. PFF has his projection to be somewhere like 2 years, 8.5, maybe $9 million. So that's something that's really affordable. But yeah, I think that the Lions, if they want to get a wide receiver one, they get him in the draft, and maybe he's not that this year. But again, the 2021 Detroit Lions bridge the gap. That's Tyrell Williams. That's giving, the offense a chance to kind of percolate for a little bit and then go into next season a little bit stronger.
Just imagine the Lions are building another bridge across the Detroit River to Canada. You're building another bridge is basically what we're doing, because the one that the Ambassador Bridge right now is kind of crap. We're going to build a new one. It's not going to be related to those bastards who are like charging out the ear for the Morone family. Is that his name? I don't know. Whatever. I'm probably. But no, yeah. Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
But I want to go to Reynolds really quick, just because the guy's only 26 years old, so signing him it could be an investment into the future if it works out, and it's kind of a situation where if you have two number one receivers, you don't have any number one wide receivers, and that would kind of be the case in Detroit. But it's all about contingency plans, right? Like you got to have someone that you can support to play if the draft doesn't fall the way you want it to fall. You can't force yourself into taking a wide receiver one at 7, because it your guy might not be there.
And and real quick, I think the thing about rookie wide receivers is that we always say that they need time. Like, not all rookie wide receivers end up being Justin Jefferson, right, or end up being somebody like CeeDee Lamb. Like, those guys need time to get acclimated to the league. So, yeah.
Not to add to the real quick, but like before we get out to the other thing too is like I don't see it just at 7 for wide receivers. I think we've talked enough. There's enough to carry you. You could get a wide receiver one probably in the second round.
Probably, but that's it. Probably you just
probably
you need to have your ass covered. Is all I'm saying, because you never know how the draft is going to fall.
Got it. So that you sign Jesse James and then draft TJ Hawkinson. Got it.
Exactly.
Well, since you mentioned a wide receiver there, let's take a break, because we're way over for the break. And when we come back, Jeremy's going to carry us into tight ends, including one fresh new one that the Lions are intending to sign here very soon. So we'll talk about that, the tight end position, and we'll move on to the offensive line and then on to the defense as we continue the free agency super preview here on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Okay. I apologize for my fumbling with some words already. It's early. I've been up all night, but let's get to the grab ass.
Yeah, and I got to catch up on some alerts here as well.
And by the way, thank you for Craig finally fucking showing up after like 20,
in the middle
20 minutes. I'm sorry. I keep doing that. I just dropped an F-bomb. I'm sorry.
You're fine. All right. Activity feed, pop you out. And also I have to change my background. Don't worry. I won't forget about that. Yep. I won't forget about it. Give me a second.
What Coco Goat reference? What did I make a reference to? When did I make the Coco Goat reference? When did I let that my weeb card slip?
All right.
When was that?
I didn't hear it. I mean, I wouldn't have even known. Anyways, Chim7 with the 6 months says, I still believe in Sheila Ford Hamp. 2 months from Brennan says, yo, love the content, guys. 3 months, and sorry, Brennan is 5 months. I got it wrong. 5 months at tier 2, which is amazing. Tier 2 is, you might be our only tier 2 subscriber, so we got to get you a personal emote for that. Mathis with the 3 months on Prime Gaming. Then we got Hellboy Kurt with the 10 months. Katie with the first gifted 1 sub to Crypto Couch or Crypto Looch, and then gifted out 5 more subs. So appreciate that, Katie. Better send Jeremy your background. All right. That's it for alerts. I don't think I missed anything. If I missed anyone else, I'm sorry. But yeah, so if you're new to Twitch or if you're watching on YouTube, on Twitch, if you watch enough, you accumulate channel points. And if you decide to turn in, how much is it? 2,000, 20,000?
What is Craig doing? I'm just going to kick Craig.
Just get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Someone requested a Ruby.
Cameo.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go grab him real quick once I deal with Craig.
Okay, 20,000 channel points, and you can pick my background here. And the ongoing joke now is because in a podcast a week or two ago, I called Aubrey Pleasant Aubrey Plaza, so now I have to find myself an Aubrey Plaza background, and I'm going to try to make it appropriate. We're not We're not trying to get ourselves in trouble here. So, I don't. Is it just like, can I get it tiled? Do you have it tiled? You texted me some options. All right. I'm not sure the best way to get these over.
Give me your other leg, buddy. Give me your other leg. There we go.
I like the.
Say hello to the people.
We might do the Scott Pilgrim version. I like that.
Big fat guy. Big fat guy needs more food. Gotta go to the store today. I know, you're pissed off.
Is there a bigger version of that picture? That's
Badass.
Big version, but bad. Nah, we're just going to use that one.
All right, come on, buddy. Let me get your couch set back up here.
All right. Where did it go, though? Add. Image. Create new.
Did we read the Cody R super chat?
I did not yet. Go for it.
All right, Cody R giving us $4.99 on YouTube. NFL free agency, NCAA attorney brackets, and the Snyder cut. Who else is pumped for next week? P.S. Hope we sign John Johnson III. What the hell is going on?
I'm trying. Hold on. There we go.
What is this?
Maybe I can flip it. Can I flip it?
No, because that'll flip the
Transform.
text.
Flip. That's fine. Who cares? I guess this. There we go. Oh, no, that's perfect.
I like it. Yeah,
Okay.
For the rest of the
I like
show.
that. I like that. I like that vicious underbite.
I'm psyched for the Snyder cut. I don't know about you guys. I'm going to totally give myself brain damage watching 4 hours of that crap.
No, superhero movies are bad for you. I'm Jeremy now.
It's Justice League, though.
Did they cut
No,
Dan Snyder?
I think it... What?
Did they cut Dan Snyder? Is that what we're talking
You
about?
can't cut the owner. You can't cut the owner. DC movies fascinate me because they're just so imperfect. Like they're about as bad as Marvel movies, except Marvel movies have this weird effect that makes people think they're good. So I enjoy when the scales are off everyone's eyes. Why does that cut excite anyone? I don't know, man. It's like a cult thing at this point. So I think for half people tuning in, they want to see the train wreck. The other half, they're just true believers.
Yeah, if true believer is the word you want to use, because those people
Dude, they
are
are.
delusional.
They're crazy. They're absolutely insane.
If you click on the Snyder cut when it's trending on Twitter and you look at all the tweets that include Snyder cut, you see some people that like, ooh boy, those people believe.
I was saying this too, like he is the worst person to have ever put in front of like something like Superman. He genuinely hates the idea of Superman. If you've watched Man of Steel, like he just treats that character with such utter contempt. And it's all because like the only comic book movie Snyder should have ever directed was 300, because that was Frank Miller and he vibed with Frank Miller. But for some godforsaken reason, they gave him Frank Miller's then antithesis in Alan Moore and did Watchmen, which is psychotic. It's utterly psychotic because throughout that movie, Zack Snyder identifies with and tries to make a hero out of Rorschach. And if you read Alan Moore's actual graphic novel, he is clearly saying to you, Rorschach is a psychopath who should be utterly detested, a man who just hates everyone. He's not a hero in any stretch of the imagination. And Zack Snyder tries to make him out as like this hero. And then somehow that guy gets to go and treat with bleeping Superman. World's not fair.
The only person who ever should have played Superman was Nicolas Cage, and we were all robbed of that. a Tim Burton Superman movie would have been...
Are you talking about that? Did you ever see the Kevin the Kevin Smith like when he's talking about yeah the giant spider
and how it ended up in Wild Wild West?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of love Wild Wild West in an
Oh, it's
almost
beautiful.
unironic way.
It's beautiful. I don't care what anyone says.
That movie
Top-
just screams like end of the 90s.
Speaking of that, the list cast deals with that. Top 5 best worst movies.
Yeah, I mean, I might have Wild Wild West number 1. Let's just make it 3 because these tend to go on forever, and yeah, we have no preparation here.
Yeah, let me see, because I'm trying to remember what, like, someone asked me to do this the other day of like the movies of you have to have like a low Rotten Tomatoes score for them, but also enjoy them.
I think a popular one for everybody because it had so much hubbubaloo around it was Sharknado, right? Like that was one that had. That was
deliberately trying to be bad. Though.
Well, the 8 sequels that came after it were definitely just like trying to, like, you know, throw in like the one weird cameo, like from some NSYNC member you don't remember shows up and gets killed in the first 5 minutes.
I'm surprised that Chris hasn't said Super Mario Brothers yet.
I was going to say, because I saw that's on like the DVD's on sale on Target.com for like $5, and I really wanted to get it. No, I never.
We can be honest.
What's that?
I was going to say, we can be honest and say that like Space Jam is definitely a good, bad movie.
I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to remember
it's a bad
all
movie.
of them.
Michael Jordan is so bad at acting. That's what I'm worried about with Space Jam too. Like LeBron, I'm not saying that he has acting chops, but like he has more charisma in front of a camera than Michael Jordan.
He was pretty good in that
Trainwreck.
Trainwreck, yeah, he was pretty good in Trainwreck. Although that's you know, a cameo, not a starting role.
Right. So that's what I'm worried about, is that like Space Jam was good because Michael Jordan was so bad in front of the camera that it was like entertaining to watch the guy who's the greatest basketball player of all time be bad at something.
Yeah.
So I've got one. I've got my one, and I have weird ideas of how good bad movies are. Like I want to say Brotherhood of the Wolf, but that's apparently like pretty good on Rotten Tomatoes. Actually, let me check out one Hong Kong movie real quick. Well, let me see its Rotten Tomatoes score just to know. But my number one with a bullet is the 1984 Dune movie.
Do people consider that a bad movie?
Yes. Some people consider it, even if you're someone who really likes it, it's a very janked movie.
Okay.
It is an acquired taste, but Dune is actually in there. Full-Time Killer only got a 59 on Rotten Tomatoes, so I'll throw that on there as well. I love Full-Time Killer, just because it references a bunch of other action movies, including one scene where they literally just use the masks from Point Break. I just wanted to say Dune. I don't really have any others. I'm sure there's probably a bunch, but I just don't know what it is. This is rough.
Yeah, I'm looking, like The Ringer has a list and they have Con Air on there, and I'm just like, that's not a bad movie. Stop it. Everyone loves Con Air. 56 on Rotten Tomatoes. No, that's.
I was gonna say though that
Ooh, Joe Dirt's
97. Joker's
Joe Dirt's good.
Joe Dirt's not bad.
Joe Dirt.
It has Kid Rock in it, so it automatically gets taken down a couple pegs. But
is Big Trouble in Little China bad? No, I don't think it's bad. Everyone loves Big Trouble in Little China. Maybe not. That's the problem. Is it's like some of these movies have gone into cult status. So, but I do love Big Trouble in Little China. That would be on there.
Sticking with like comedies that just looked awful from the outside, but were actually not that bad. Y'all, go watch Bubble Boy. Horrible, stupid premise. Not a bad movie. Not a bad movie, and I will take that to my grave.
I don't think you're wrong there.
How did people feel about Prometheus? Because I enjoy Prometheus.
I think it got bad reviews, but I did not watch it. I'm a little too close to horror to me, and I'm not a big horror guy.
I'm not big either, but I love Ridley Scott and I love the whole Alien universe. So, and for whatever reason, Prometheus just vibed for me.
Wild Wild West is number 2 on the Ringers list, by the way.
Of course.
And number 5, Batman and Robin.
Oh
no! What? See, I'll give it to Batman Forever, but not Batman and Robin.
Yeah, agreed. What about Anaconda? Just because it's got such a wild cast: Jennifer Lopez, Ice Cube, Jon Voight, Owen Wilson, What?
Danny Trejo's in it too.
Danny Trejo's in
literally everything.
I was gonna say
The
like that
monster
stretch.
movie.
We got a little away from it, but I was gonna say with Con Air, that stretch from like 97 to 2003 was like the best 5-6 year stretch I feel like of action movies we've ever had.
Oh, action movies that could fit this list. Jeremy's seen a few action movies in his time.
Nope, I know where you're going with this. No Fast and Furious movies will show up on my list. They are all bad movies.
Not even Tokyo Drift?
Not even Tokyo Drift. No. Man, I was watching... I kind of want to do some watch parties on our Twitch. Because I was watching... Someone was watching just the most god-awful movie about some kickboxer that was just like fighting the most racist depictions of Mexicans I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, speaking of all that,
Was
maybe
it-
Blade,
was it ne-
Blade
was it
might be
never-
on my...
Was it Never Back Down? Blade is good.
It might
That's
have
not a
been.
bad movie.
I couldn't tell you what the name of the movie was. Never. It was weird.
Is it-
They just kept fighting each other. It was set on like a college campus.
Yeah, I think it's Never Back Down.
I think it was older than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it was definitely like 90s or 80s.
Ooh, I've got one. Terminator Salvation. I enjoy Terminator Salvation.
I like all the Blade movies, especially the third one. Triple H is a vampire in it. It's awesome.
Of course you'd like that. Well, I think I gave you 3 there between Dune, Terminator Salvation, and I can't remember the other one I had.
Did you guys ever see Snakes on a Plane?
No.
Did you ever see that, Jeremy?
I did not.
I didn't either, but I bet that could probably fit
For sure.
here.
But that's like, I don't want to count movies that are trying deliberately. That's why I don't like Sharknado, because it's like, it's trying deliberately to be bad, to be funny.
Demolition Man falls not under that category, but I think that would be on my list of best bad movies that I enjoy. I just like Wesley Snipes.
That's fair. The movie I was talking about, by the way, I'm pretty sure it's called Angel Town. It was awful. I couldn't even watch it ironically for more than 10 minutes.
Well, with a title like that, how could it be bad?
I see some people brought up The Room. Obviously, The Room is on like every list. Everyone loves The Room now.
Yeah, I still haven't seen.
I think The Room is good, just not in the way that I think he originally intended it to be.
All right, I think I'm going to cut it off there.
That's enough.
I
think that's enough. We got to get back to free agents talk. Yeah. So we did about 23 minutes of that first segment, by the way. So
Okay.
we can, we might want to speed it up a little bit, but I don't mind going long since this is our big preview one.
Okay.
And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit POD cast. I said we were going to do this free agency preview in a snake draft order. We just left off with wide receivers. That means tight ends is next up. And Jeremy, once again, gets to take the lead.
Yeah, I mean, we got some news that we need to talk about before we talk about some free agents that maybe the Lions will sign, because since we last recorded, Jesse James cut on, I think, Thursday officially. And then this morning, Saturday morning, the Lions have signed officially Josh Hill, the tight end, formerly of the New Orleans Saints. They recently cut him to save about $2.5 million. He might have, they might be done at tight end now. I think you look at Josh Hill, he was an integral piece to that Saints offense, and I know it's not a name that necessarily pops off the page, and if you jump to his, Pro Football Reference page, you see that he only had, 10 or so catches last year, but the dude is a blocking machine, and I want to go over a quote from Sean Payton from 2019 that just shows how valuable of a player he was to that offense, because they lost him in a game, I think it was like a week 11 game, and Sean Payton, who first off, I need to thank Amy Just, our former guest of First Bite Podcast. She kind of hit me to this because she's a big fan of Josh Hill and thinks the Lions are getting a good one there. But here's a quote from Sean Payton. He says, quote, "We lost Josh Hill, and Josh is one of those guys that may be somewhat under the radar, but losing him was like losing your front door. all of a sudden there are 58 plays on the call sheet, and he was involved in a lot of them. So we spent a lot of time trying to re-personnel group some of our plays, which ones we still want to run and which ones we can't run. So he was literally an integral part of that team's offense, and I think he will be of the Lions' offense. He's a great run defender or run blocker. He's going to be on the field a lot. We're going to see a lot of 21 personnel, a lot of 12 personnel, I should say, a lot of maybe 13 personnel, because what did Deuce Staley say yesterday to us, Ryan? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, he said that part of that versatility that a tight end can bring, bringing them into the backfield, having them play that pseudo fullback role. Yep.
And so gone are the days of fullbacks potentially, traditional fullbacks is basically what he was saying. And now you can get a tight end who can drop into the backfield, but is not just a guy who's going to lead the way for your running back. He can sometimes slip out and catch passes. And I think that's a guy that Josh Hill is. I remember last year we talked a lot about the fullback position and whether it was economical in terms of your roster to keep one. I think Josh Hill makes your roster more economical, and now you might not have the need for a guy like Nick Bawden or Jason Kabinda or both. I mean, at this point, why? You're fine.
Why? I will say this about tight ends and Josh Hill, in that I feel like we should have had John Whitaker on this podcast, considering he seemed to have called for it on Twitter way back. So
he's a former Saints tight end. Big shocker that the Lions signed one.
He also called Tyrell Williams.
Sure.
And he says on Twitter, "How about John Johnson next?" So
we're going to talk about him.
To the core question, I do think the Lions are done at tight end, which I guess gets us into the thorny question of, well, is if they are done, is Kyle Pitts still an option? And I think this is where we get into Ryan starts wagging his eyebrows, and we get into the classifications of what exactly Kyle Pitts is, because if we're already reclassifying tight ends to include potential fullback roles, I feel like then we've already reclassified Kyle Pitts to whatever you want, as long as he's catching balls as well, which again, either way, I think the Lions are done, at least for free agency. Like they would have three tight ends on the roster. Probably they have TJ Hawkinson, Hunter Bryant, and Josh Hill. I don't think are they Hunter Thedford and Lees Mack.
They signed a futures deal, so they're futures camp bodies essentially.
They're camp bodies, they're practice squad bodies. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about that. But that's three tight ends deep right there, and that's again before you get to a question of whether or not you're going to draft a tight end in the upcoming draft. So I think they're done.
Yeah, I don't know if they're done. I think that Josh Hill definitely fills a need, a very specific need. I think that he's going to serve a very specified and specific role. I don't think this comes as any shock to anybody, especially with the move from Jesse James. They were clearly targeting a specific kind of player, and it's really awesome that they got a guy like Josh Hill, because maybe it sounds weird, but I don't think the Lions are going to build their offense around him, but he does seem like he could be an integral part to what they do in 2021. Just a few names I want to throw out real quick that aren't Kyle Pitts, because, I've already kind of been branded as the Kyle Pitts ambassador, but Gerald Everett, I think, is a really interesting name if they want to get like a move tight end. Obviously some familiarity there because he played with the Rams. Obviously everybody connects the dots with Jared Cook.
Yep.
Maybe that's an option, just because, he might even retire, but like that would be like a 1 year, $4 or $5 million deal. The one name that I haven't seen anywhere, Dan Arnold, has ties to the Saints, played with the Cardinals last season. There aren't too many guys out there who are 6'6", 220 playing tight end. I think that could potentially be a very specified red zone role if they want to grab another tight end, but he actually proved that he could play some big snaps last season. He ended up having 45 targets, 31 catches, and 4 touchdowns in that Arizona offense. So Dan Arnold is a name that I would keep my eye on, just because I think that he could be grabbed off this market for relatively cheap.
Yeah, I think the one important point here is just what do the Lions think they have in Hunter Bryant, right? Are they
Yep.
ready to hand him the reins of being, the backup to TJ Hawkinson as a receiver? Because I know the previous coaching staff was impressed by him, but we never got to see him because of the injuries, really. And, what limited appearances he did make last year were underwhelming. So we'll see what Dan Campbell thinks of him because, I think Dan Arnold makes a lot of sense if they're not that confident in Hunter Bryant.
All right, let's move a little quick here. I'm going to crunch down and give Jeremy the entire offensive line. So guards and tackles now. I mean, Jeremy, to tee this up for you, I think it's going to be a lot of depth stuff right now, but I mean, they're committed to their core. It's going to be Decker, Ragnow, probably Jackson. It's just a matter of figuring out that right side.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all hinges on two players, right? Halapuli Vaitai. Again, we still don't really know what this coaching staff is going to think of him. I know they're returning the offensive line coach, but is he your right tackle? Is he your right guard? I think you have to lock him into one of those spots as a starter, given his price tag. And then who else? Like Logan Stenberg is the other kind of wild card here because you drafted him in the 4th round last year, didn't see the field at all last year, but he's a guy you invested a lot. He's a mauler, which I think we all agree Dan Campbell might be a guy that they like. So is he your starting right guard potentially, or is Vaitai your starting right guard and then you're relying on someone like Tyrell Crosby to be your starting right tackle? So it's not clear if there's even a starting job available right now, but if there is, you're right, it's on that right side.
Yeah, and I think Stenberg, it is someone like, as you say, you drafted him in the 4th round. I don't know why he didn't see the field, but we already have established over the course of many, 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 many podcasts how utterly insane it was to watch this offensive line get rotated through the year, that it just didn't let guys sit there and get used to their roles. And I think you fix that in two ways. One, as you say, you lock down what Vaitai is. Is he a tackle or is he a guard? I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, he's mostly played tackle his career. He could be
Vaitai. Yeah.
I know he does both.
But he's best served, I think, as a tackle. But yeah, the line, and that was the intentions, I think, when the Lions signed him last year. But then with all the injuries that happened with the rotation, with all that sort of stuff, they moved him guard, and that was where he finished.
But I think you lock him in at tackle, and then Stenberg is a guard, so you got to see what you got in Stenberg, and you probably want to see what he can do. Put him outside there on the right guard. That's your line right there. And again, a lot of that then from there is just depth guys. You figure out, you got plenty of guys who are kind of coming off the depth chart right now between Crosby, Nelson, Dahl, Evan Brown, I believe. So you want to figure out which one of those guys you're keeping there. For Ode Ibushi, I don't know if they're going to be bringing him back, Jeremy, but you want to get your depth established there. And then the offensive line is not a place where I see them spending a lot of money in free agency. If they do, it's because a lot of these depth guys move on and they need to bring in some guys to fill those spots. But I don't see them getting any new starters from free agency.
I think when we have this conversation, the thing that we always need to acknowledge is that Logan Stenberg was drafted by a previous regime.
That's
who
true.
knows how Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell feel about Logan Stenberg. Maybe he doesn't fit the profile of what they want whatsoever, and he's just kind of there. I think that I agree with you, Chris. I don't think that they're going to invest their cap space into improving their offensive line, but I do think that there are a lot of options in the draft, especially on day 2 and
Absolutely.
day 3 when it comes to the interior offensive line. I mean, look at a guy like Jonah Jackson. That guy is a surefire starter. You got him on day 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's just kind of how things are trending in the NFL. One name that I think is super interesting, Eric brought his name up in our Q&A, but it might be rich at 7, but getting a tackle like Rashawn Slater, that seems tempting. It seems tempting to solidify both sides of the offensive line with Decker and Slater, move Vaitai into guard. It is what it is. His contract, you can't pay for the sins of Bob Quinn at this point by pigeonholing yourself and saying, well, we need him to play tackle because he's getting paid tackle money. Play him where it's best served to improve and make the team as good as it can be.
No, I agree with that. I'm going to tell you what's even more tempting, though. Trading back and then getting the offensive lineman you're talking about too. Like,
if you can,
the best. I know Jeremy wants to do that real bad, but I'm not as worried about the offensive line just because, like, again, those three pieces, Ragnow, Jackson, Decker. I know the right side needs help, but I think this unit is in a lot better place than a lot of the other units we're going to see. Than literally any other position, which is good for Jared Goff, because one of the things that I think people were missing on Jared Goff's decline in Los Angeles is that he was just not like that offensive line was just not protecting him near the end. It wasn't doing a good job over there. So I think that is one place where you could maybe see some upside in Jared Goff, especially once again, if you figure out the right side of that line.
And the last thing I have to say about the offensive line is don't underrate how important signing a guy like Josh Hill is.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's true. But
I mean, like, we're looking at this right now in Kansas City, right? Like, I mean, they've already lost some offensive linemen, and they're kind of flop sweating and asking Mahomes to restructure the contract already, which was going to happen. But I mean, I think people are finally coming around to, like, offensive line is where you win, like, everything. So including myself, I used to hate it. But,
so if the Lions aren't looking in free agency for an offensive lineman, they do have a couple of interesting decisions in-house to make, though. Ode Ibushi is one of those, veteran guy who came in and, essentially stole the job from Joe Dahl by the end of the season, which I think is very important to note. And then the other guy is Joe Dahl, a guy who's currently on the roster, but if you cut him, you save almost $3 million. And so I know we've all grown to love Joe Dahl, and he's a versatile piece, but he hasn't really played all that well. And again, coaching staff change, and worth pointing out, the offensive line coach Hank Fraley is still here. But let me ask you guys, what are your thoughts on those guys? Do you try to keep both around? Do you prioritize one over the other? Do you let them both go?
I think I would prioritize Ibushi.
Yeah.
Dahl has just been too inconsistent for me. I know he's probably like a favorite for Chris Spielman, but I think at this point I know who Joe Dahl is, and his ceiling is very low. And it's unfortunate, because as much as I like him and I like the story, it's just he's been here a while and it's not really working. I'd probably prioritize Ibushi over Dahl.
I would do the exact opposite. I would keep Joe Dahl here, and the only reason why is because of versatility. Guy can play guard, he can kick out, play tackle.
Yeah. He can play center.
I think, yeah, he can play center in a pinch. So I think that versatility is really worth it. However, I don't know. I think saving yourself $3 million in cap space might be a good thing to do too.
That's really what it comes down to. I think Ibushi might be slightly more talented. Dahl gives you more versatility, but he's also probably going to be more expensive. So not an easy decision for them to make, but I think I agree with you guys. There's not going to be a big splash. They might sign some depth guys on the offensive line, but no one I expect to push for a starting job.
Yeah, and it's important to know Stenberg I know has worked a little bit at center as well. So that might be something as far as the versatility. What?
Let's not bring up how he looked in training camp at center. It was not
you've
good.
Got Frank Ragnow. As long as he doesn't go down, you should be fine at center. Like, let's not overthink this.
Put a neck guard on him next year. 5
solid starters in your offensive line, and you don't butts with them. You don't butts with them, Matt Patricia. It's easy. All right. Edge time, guys. Edge time. So the Trey Flowers situation, you just kind of hope you're going to get better Trey Flowers. I would hope
healthier,
maybe healthier Trey Flowers. You're going to have the younger of the two Okwaras, Julian Okwara, on the roster. Austin Bryant, Robert McRae. But other than that, you're probably losing Everson Griffin. I don't see him really. That didn't work out. It just didn't work out. And to be honest, like I feel like at edge, I don't know what this team is going to want to do at defense yet. I kind of want to see what Aaron Glenn implements when it comes, first off, to the base, and also to just how he wants to approach the front seven. But I feel like pass rush is like, I didn't understand why there was so much of a priority on stopping the run as much as that's important. But this team's gone without pass rush for so much. So obviously they didn't give the franchise tag to Romeo Okwara, but I think right now for free agency, before you get to guys from the outside, the question starts and ends with, do you re-sign Romeo Okwara?
It's a big question to pose, because I don't think anyone realistically was expecting the franchise tag for him. I think we talked it over and it was something like 17-18 million for 1 year of him, which is just, I mean, you don't really want to pay even your best edge rushers that much in 1 year. You'd rather sign them to a long-term deal, and the Lions don't even want to chance it with, even if they're like, we're going to get a long-term deal done, let's just franchise tag him. Even the small chance where you don't get a deal done in that instance is almost disastrous for you, because that's just a huge chunk of change for your cap situation. And I think it's still possibly in the cards. You know, the clock is running low. The tampering period is less than 48 hours away from the minute we're recording this. So if they're getting it done, they're being awfully quiet about it. And I mean, we can even look into some social media posts from the Okwaras that seem to suggest maybe, and you don't want to read too much into it, that he's waving goodbye to Detroit. But oof. I don't know. It's hard. It's just a fascinating situation here, because not only are we dealing with a COVID-strapped year with everyone on the salary cap, we're dealing here with a player that's just, he had one fantastic year last year. But he's still young. So is that 1 year a sign of growth, and now he's going to be that guy that continually gets right around 10 sacks a year? Or is he a guy that had a flash-in-the-pan season? Because that happens often. There's a lot of guys that hit that 10-sack mark and then you never see from him again. And so
it happened to him too. Let's keep that in mind. 2018, great year. 2019, very quiet.
Yeah.
And 2020, good year again.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know what you do with him. I don't know what the market is going to be for him. And so maybe the Lions just try to make sure he never sees the market and just like dangles Julian Okwara in front of him and just say, hey, man, you could have 3 more years of rooming with your brother. But I don't know how much that's going to work.
I don't think Romeo Okwara sticks around to Detroit. And I think it's because the price gets driven up, and the Lions, if they wanted to prioritize signing a guy like Okwara, they would have done it by now. And I think that the Lions, if they want to go like a pass rusher, maybe they can go a guy like Bud Dupree. Or maybe they can go a guy like Yannick Ngakoue if they want to go like a true pass rusher. But I truly think that we're not going to see a huge departure from gap responsibility, gap control, let's stop the run when it comes to defense. I think that that's how the New Orleans Saints played their front. I think that when you look at the Los Angeles Rams, they have a freak in Aaron Donald. And if you look at the Saints, they have a freak in Hayward. So I think when you look at, I don't know. I just think that if the Lions wanted to prioritize getting a pass rusher, that they would have already signed Romeo Okwara.
They might be looking, other places too. Once again, the draft. I know there's probably not going to be a lot of edge rushers in the first round, but probably day 2. Once again, your day 2 options are fairly myriad, so you can try what you want there. For myself, just as a fan, I'm just getting really tired of not having a premier pass rusher, which it feels like we haven't had one since, dare I say it, Ndamukong Suh.
And I'm sorry, I said Hayward. I meant to say Cameron Jordan for the Saints.
Okay. That's fine.
I think both those guys, like Cameron Jordan, Aaron Donald, those guys are unicorns. Maybe the Lions want to get a unicorn, but they're not going to pay for one.
I just think this is kind of a decent. I mean, you don't see a lot of decent years with edge rushers. A lot of them get franchise tagged, and you never see the delay today in terms of free agency. But
they're getting cut this year, right?
Right, and I mean they're a lot. My edge piece when I talked about the guys that are tied to the Lions. You mentioned Yannick Ngakoue, Melvin Ingram's another one, 9-year veteran. Overlapped with Anthony Lynn for the last 4. Samson Ebukam is a guy that we talked about on the Q&A, a guy that was found in the 4th round of the draft by the Rams. So Brad Holmes likes him a lot because he tends to nail those 3rd and 4th rounds of the draft. He's not going to give you 10 sacks, but he's a guy that'll fit your scheme. He's a guy that really, 4.5 sacks each of the past 2 years. I like what he's done. He's an athletic guy. And then, if you want to go the more veteran route, Justin Houston is a guy that John Dorsey brought to Kansas City. So,
yeah, and maybe on kind of a. Oh, sorry. Go on, Joe.
No, I was just going to say, like, there's a lot of different options, whether you want to go the 1-year bridge route or you want to potentially get a young guy who you can still develop in like an Ebukam. I think the Lions make not a huge move here, but a significant move. They're going to get a guy who I think is going to play at least 50% of snaps next year.
I could also see too, kind of like a guy like a Trey Hendrickson who had Saints ties. It wasn't much on early on, but like he had a breakout year. I think he had 13.5 sacks in 2020. And I don't know if the Saints are bringing him back. He might be on the market. What he commands is anyone's guess. Because again, that's another one of those guys where I think you're kind of worried it might be flash in the pan, but it could be on a prove it deal, or not quite prove it deal, but 2-3 years to see what you have in him. But
he might come. I mean, he's another kind of like Romeo Okwara type thing where it's just didn't do much for his first 3 years, but then 13.5 sacks is eye popping it couldn't have happened at a better time for him on a contract year. But dude is young and he's got Saints ties. So I think the Lions are certainly going to have eyes on him.
Let's take another break here. When we come back, we'll let Jeremy take up Ryan. I forgot we're going. Actually, it's me again. It's me again. Snake order draft. So we'll do defensive tackles, get into the rest of the defense, and try to put a kibosh on this. We're going long on this one, but I think we're having a lot of fun. We've got about 5 positions to go. So we'll try to go. We'll get them all done here when we come back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. YouTube, can I ask you guys to please stop fighting? Can I ask you guys, Don Burke, can I please ask you to stop telling people to go play foot before they can talk to you? This is really getting old, man. I hate looking at YouTube and seeing
Grow up. Look at me, YouTube. Grow up.
Jesus Christ, man.
Do you need to come over to Twitch and show you how commenting is done?
No, we'll just leave it to Nightbot.
I will admonish you guys, YouTube. I will look you right in the eyes. Get your act together.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Very Ted Lasso.
I'll give you the Aubrey Plaza look.
All right. Do we have any alerts?
It doesn't work with a mustache, Jeremy.
I know. I can't. Just a couple follows, I believe. County Maniac, thank you for the follow. Salmon Salou 007, thank you for the follow, and some other follows I missed as well. Mike, Ruben, Garrettson, appreciate you guys with the follows. The new follows, that way you can get make sure the alerts are on, so every time we go live, you get an alert to your phone if you have the Twitch app.
Where did we leave off? I'm trying to remember because that list cast really threw me for a loop, to be honest.
I don't know.
I drank a bunch of water, so can I go urinate real quick?
You
go ahead, please do.
Only if you put Goose in the seat.
Please relieve yourself.
Goose, will you take my chair? Come here, Bubba.
We missed Goose.
Can you get up here?
We missed Goose. Yes, we did.
Come here. Hey. Yeah, come on. Get up here.
Left Wing says, I see a lot of short-term deals with mid to low-grade players. Deuce seems to be a pretty cool dude, huh? Absolutely. I agree with both those things. Deuce was amazing. And again, if you haven't seen it, our interview with him, it was fantastic. Deuce was up for everything, had great answers, including saying that my mustache was better than Andy Reid's. So better than a Super Bowl mustache right there.
I've had my goatee for so long, I didn't even think about it. And he just brought it up, and I just became aware of this thing that's been on my face for 15 years. So
the background story to the Aubrey Plaza background is during a podcast last week, I called Aubrey Pleasant Aubrey Plaza, and Twitch chat made fun of me. I just got done admonishing YouTube chat, Twitch chat, stop making fun of me. But also one of the rewards for our Twitch loyalists as you watch, you can tell at the bottom of the Twitch chat there's a number next to like a little bubble looking thing. Those are your Twitch channel points. If you accumulate enough Twitch channel points, you can use them to impact our stream in a bunch of different ways. And one of those ways, if you pay 20,000 channel points, you can change my background for the rest of the show. So if you have 20,000 channel points, hang on to them for now because I have to deal with Aubrey Plaza over my shoulder for the rest of the show. But you can change it next show as long as it's appropriate and as long as we don't have a guest. I turn off that reward redemption during guest streams because I want to have at least a modicum of professionalism when we have someone like, I don't know, Deuce Staley on the show.
You would have been tickled if we had Aubrey Plaza over your shoulder.
Well, no, I thought about doing this one instead. The where is it? Oh, do I not have it?
You should have had a picture of him from his time playing in Philadelphia.
No, I had a mustache one ready to go where it was just mustaches in the background, but
no, don't. Let's keep Aubrey up there.
Oh, there it is. I found it. There it is.
My day lightened.
I was potentially going to do that, but
okay. That's fine too. That's totally fine.
Well, it doesn't seem like we got any of the off-topics to chat about. So you want to just jump right back in, tap off this thing so that y'all can watch Michigan Ohio State?
More like so I can go to bed.
That too. Well, I was talking with the listener / viewer.
Yeah, I'm mildly interested in that game for various reasons.
My heart was already ripped out by watching USC lose on a last-second bullshit shot to Colorado. So I think I'm done with college basketball. That was my 2 minutes of college basketball I've watched all season, and I'm already done.
So yeah, well, hopefully
that was March. Then.
I was gonna say, hopefully the Pistons. Yeah, this was March.
This was March.
Hopefully the Lions. I hope the Pistons draft Evan Mobley if they're at number 2, center from USC. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good. College basketball's doing nothing for me this year. It's
doing everything for me. Everything.
I know it's doing everything for you. So settle down just a little bit. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying really quick from Twitch. Thank you XLJ Featured for the 2-month subscription. Use this Twitch Prime subscription, which is a good reminder for anyone watching. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link it to your Twitch account. Subscribe to 1 Twitch feed per month for free. That way you support the Twitch channels that you enjoy. It does not automatically renew, so if you did it last month, you have to do it again this month. And again, you don't have to spend your Twitch Prime here. We would obviously appreciate that, but make sure you use it. If you have an Amazon Prime account and you have a Twitch account, there's no reason not to use it. You're throwing away free money if you're not using it.
Yeah, free bleeping money.
And then LJ also asked,
LJ,
what's the spread on the game, Ryan?
Yeah, LJ, I think sussed
7.5
in the game. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No hesitation. Knew right off the dome.
Did you guys see that Patrick Mahomes is restructuring his contract and how much cap space it's going to save the Chiefs in 2021?
So I didn't see that. I just saw that he's restructuring it. What?
$17 million.
By the way,
they're trying to clear space for Chase Daniel.
By the way, did anyone see? I know since we've talked about the Saints cap number quite a bit this offseason, if you want a crash course in the salary cap isn't real, go check what the Saints are down to right now. Because remember to yourself,
they've cut a hell of a lot of people.
They did, but they're at to like 15 million out of and they were over 100. They were 110 million over the cap.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though, they're making cap room today, but how many of these restructures are going to bite them in the ass 2-3 years down the road? I know the cap is going to be higher. What?
They'll just restructure it again.
I mean, at some point you have to pay that in cap space. The money doesn't go away.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Insert Jesse Pinkman gif.
They can't keep getting away with this.
No, I mean, this is if anything, I have heard from several people who are just kind of getting wise to the idea. It's like a salary cap can really be flexed with.
It can.
You can
but
do some
I
very creative.
Listen, I'm even guilty of saying the salary cap isn't real because of the Saints offseason, but the Saints offseason is actually very much proof that the salary cap is real because they've cut, 6, 7, 8 guys already? And they're still not completely
going to be back?
What?
Is Drew Brees going to be back? He hasn't retired.
I don't think so. I don't know what. No, I don't think so, but I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of things with the loopholes and all of these other things, I must have missed this bit of news, but I was reading it when I was checking out Mike Davis's free agent profile. But did you know that he was signed by the Bears in 2019, and then they cut him before week 10 for compensatory pick purposes?
Before week 10, so he has to
because. Yeah, there was this loophole that was like super unfriendly to players, but like it was closed in the latest collective bargaining agreement. But they signed him and then they promptly cut him before week 10 so that they could count him as compensatory.
So many loopholes. I was just talking about this the other day on Twitter. It's just like the salary cap and CBA, like those stuff are so fungible and ever changing that it's tough to keep up when you don't literally have a copy of the CBA in front of you.
Right.
I like that word, fungible, considering non-fungible token has been in the on everyone's minds lately.
It's a fun word to say. You should try it at home,
It is
chat.
very fun.
Say it with us.
It sounds
Ready?
like fungus.
1,
Fungible.
2, 3.
Fungible.
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 Fungible. Fungible.
I don't even know if I used it right, by the way.
Yeah, maybe. I do. I used to do that all the time. I am more amazed, if anything else, this offseason that maybe it's just the guys I work with, but some of them are so convinced that Russell Wilson is like a lock to the Bears.
It's to me the silence is deafening. The fact that we like nothing. There's been nothing out of Russell's camp, nothing out of the Seahawks camp. It's just been silent.
I just feel like I just feel like it's easier for them to mend the fences by investing in an offensive line. That's all.
I think the closer we get to the draft, the hotter both GMs and in Seattle.
Yeah.
That's when their hands are going to start to get forced because Houston can keep on coming out and saying like, I saw the other day that their owner said something along the lines of, or was it Caserio that said something along the lines of,
no, it was
like,
Caserio.
yeah,
He went on like
yeah.
a podcast.
No, it was
and
Cullen.
said- yeah.
Cullen, that's their head coach, right? Dave
Yeah,
Cullen?
it was Cullen. It was Cullen. Yeah.
Unless
okay,
they're
well,
on his own notes.
yeah,
Well,
it was.
it's a quote, yeah.
Yeah, it was somebody in Houston that was like, yeah, Deshaun Watson's our quarterback. He's the only one we have on our roster. It's like, you better start figuring out a contingency plan. And his name is Chase Daniel.
Let's just turn this into like a Chase Daniel hype machine podcast for the next 48 hours.
Chase Daniel Hype Machine podcast. Let's do it. So the one I was thinking of, Cullen did, he did say like in a Q&A with the press he said, Watson's our guy, but then in like some podcast previous to that, he was saying like, we're moving forward with guys who want to be here.
Right. Yeah, in the huddle.
So nobody seems to have the bleeping picture in Houston right now.
Nope.
I just don't want to see Russell Wilson in the NFC North. I want to give the Bears nothing.
If he's playing for the Lions, I don't mind, but
yeah. I don't want to give the Bears anything. Nothing. I want to see them suffer.
They don't deserve anything. You know why?
No,
because they should not be rewarded for their ineptitude at what they've done with the quarterback position over the past 5 years. Are you kidding me? Mike
go
Glennon.
back more than 5 years.
Oh no, I mean I'll give Jay Cutler to him. Like Jay Cutler was like
but
a good move.
They didn't want Cutler. Everyone wanted to drive Cutler out of town.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about the Bears. They went and they got him from the Broncos. So that was cool.
Okay.
Good for them. They got I don't think Jay Cutler was I'm not going to thump for Jay Cutler, but they could have done more for him. And then they follow that up with Mike Glennon, Mitchell Trubisky, Nick Foles, all of this ineptitude just to be saved because Russell Wilson wants out of Seattle. That would piss me off so much.
I can't imagine the price it would take to get Russell. And the entire league knows, and I've heard from several people around
But
the
they
league.
would pay it.
Well, like the Bears are desperate. My guy Jonas Knox, we've had on several times for Bears stuff, like made the analogy last week that the Bears, the guy who shows up to the car dealership via an Uber ride. You know he's desperate. You know he wants to buy, and he tries to tell you, "I'm just looking." And it's like, no, you're not. You're desperate. You need to buy right now. Like the entire league has the Bears over a barrel, and like I heard one person say the Bears need to give Seattle like 5 first round draft picks, which you can't do. Like the CBA just doesn't allow that.
Yeah, you can't trade more than 3 years in the future.
Yeah, that's just kind of the insanity that you're dealing with the Bears right now. Like if they do get Russell, it's going to blow the Stafford trade out of the water. And the problem is like, how can you even make that work at this point? Because the Bears don't have great draft picks. They don't have talent to move. And again, it's kind of the problem is you giving them Russell. It's kind of the problem that the Lions have with, trading away Stafford. It's like you give them that, but it's going to potentially make the draft picks lower in later years too. But that's part of the calculus. But so I don't know. But like their draft pick this year just isn't good because they went to the playoffs.
That's why trading in the NBA is so much more fun. The Pistons last night, they traded a second-round pick in 2027. They traded a literal 6th grader.
If we still have a draft by 2027.
If we still have a planet Earth by 2027.
That's true.
Should we get to the third segment?
We should. But really quick, LJ with the 500 bits says, Chase Daniel hype! Thank you for the 500 bits.
Everyone should hype up Chase Daniel. We really should.
True. Everybody should tweet about Chase Daniel right now. Say really good things about Chase Daniel.
Also, by the way, Ryan, I
nice
did
hair.
have the words Jay Cutler fan under your picture for the last 2 minutes.
Jesus.
Did I tell you guys about my my EDP, my educational development plan?
Mm-mm. Was it just teaching people about how good Jay Cutler was?
So
Chase Daniel, you mean?
No, he's a Jay Cutler fan. He said it.
You fill these out in high school, and they're supposed to be like these career plans essentially.
Oh yeah, they're like trying to tell you to be like a plumber or an electrician or something.
Yeah. So you personalize your profile, and I remember in my profile like 3 things that I wanted to see accomplished in the next like 5 years. And one of them was Jay Cutler being the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. And that was before they had Stafford. So like it was desperate times.
Yep. I still think Jay Cutler is better than, again, like just he didn't have a lot around him, and that entire city just hated his guts for no good reason.
I mean, it's called being Matthew Stafford.
No, I'm talking about Chicago.
I know, but
Chicago hated him.
Yes, and plenty of Lions fans hated Matthew Stafford for the exact same non-reasons.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, let's get into it.
Yep.
We're rambling on. Ramble on.
Yep. Third segment here on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. I'm not going to say wrapping up because we've got quite a bit still to chew off here as we go position by position in our free agency preview. So we just did edge. Now I want to go to the defensive tackles. So it's a very interesting amount. So I think the Lions, they're going to be cutting.
They might.
They might. Like they've got 2 options for some pretty juicy cuts to make a defensive tackle. They could cut Nick Williams for just south of $5 million in cap saving. They could cut Danny Shelton for $4 million in cap saving. But I think they've got quite a few guys who are going to be on the roster right now. So Jeremy, where do you see it at least kind of like resolving cap casualties here before you start looking outside for this position in free agency?
Well, to me, it's mildly surprising Nick Williams hasn't been cut yet. I know he was probably their best pass rushing defensive tackle last year, but he's not a particularly good player. And $4.7 million in cap savings to I think just $1 million in dead cap is a no-brainer move to me. So, I mean, maybe that gets done before the time we hit publish on this podcast. I think that's a definite possibility. Danny Shelton is a little bit tougher decision because he's actually a good player and he's a nose tackle. Nose tackles are tough to find that are good. There's a lot of big guys, but not a lot of guys that have the technique that I think Danny Shelton has. That being said, definitely a better fit in the previous defensive regime. So again, that one's a little bit tougher for me. You're gonna eventually need bodies here, and while the Lions have a bunch of guys and John Pennicini, Deshaun Cornell, who's kind of an edge and an interior guy, Kevin Strong, John Atkins. How many of those guys are you really comfortable seeing more than 50% of snaps? Any? Zero?
No. None of them.
None of them. So
yeah,
that's why I think a guy like Danny Shelton could potentially hold on to a job here. But I mean, to me, the cupboard is full of a bunch of depth guys, not a lot of starters. So is this where the Lions splurge in free agency? ?
I sure hope not. I don't want them to break the bank on as insignificant a position as the defensive interior.
Unless he's Aaron Donald.
Don't talk about that. Don't talk dirty to me.
They tried. They tried. Let's not forget the Lions. Well, let's just say they almost got Aaron Donald. Just throw a little editorial. They almost got him in the Matthew Stafford trade.
Hey, I'm sure when they quote our podcast, they'll make sure that they actually get the
they link
credited.
to us. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they'll actually get that credited to you, Jeremy.
To pride in Detroit.
Yeah, I think what we've seen in the past is that paying a premium for defensive interior is just not the formula to success, unless you have one of those players like Aaron Donald, who just changes the game fundamentally for you. So even looking at Pro Football Focus's top, I think it's like their top 200 free agents, there's only 3 defensive interior players on that entire list. Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, and Derek Wolfe. And I don't know. Hopefully the Lions don't, just because they have so many bodies. Maybe they want to see what sticks. Maybe they spend some draft capital on it. But then again, like, there aren't a whole lot of, certainly not at number 7. Would the Lions target anybody on the defensive interior? So don't get worried that this might be like a Derek Brown situation. But I think maybe day 2 or day 3, they look to, I don't know, fill the cupboard with more bowls and plates. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I'm going. No, I was just gonna say, I've got nothing else to add here. I don't see the free agency splash here. I feel like it's linebacker such more of a priority to fix right now. Like, it sucks that there probably is no guys who are guys that we can look at beyond just saying they're depth guys. But again, this is the bridge that is being built. So there's no one here that sticks out as a beast. And as much as I'd like to see Ndamukong Suh come back to Detroit, I just don't think that's in the cards.
No. Yeah. I was going to bring him up real quick too. Like it makes sense from the Lions standpoint. It makes very little sense from Suh's standpoint. Like, I get that he still has local ties here, but that to me is not enough for a guy who's probably only getting 1 or 2 more NFL contracts and chances at a ring. So I know he just got one last year. I think he probably stays in Tampa, gets paid, gets another ring, potentially gets another ring. I'm not calling my shot with the Buccaneers already.
Yeah, but I'd say, like, if you're Suh, you want to go get rings right now. Like, because again, I feel like because of what happened in Miami, the legacy kind of passed him by. But man, like, I remember him early on with Detroit, and I remember him at Nebraska. Like, this guy should be going down as like an all-time name. And more rings he can get, the better.
He has a legitimate shot, I think, at the Hall of Fame if he picks up another ring or 2. And I know that's a stupid thing to judge a defensive tackle by, but
I know we don't care as much about it. I know we don't care as much about it in the NFL, but College Football Hall of Fame, absolutely. Like, It's still a shame that he never got the Heisman. If there was ever a defensive player who could have gotten the Heisman, it to me was Ndamukong Suh in Nebraska. And it's
But really quick with guys that they, again, kind of doing a local tie spin on this. Sheldon Rankins, I think, is a guy that would fit from the Saints. If the line, he's kind of a more of a mid-tier guy. Did not coming off a great year, but a guy with high potential. Abry Jones is a guy I wrote about a little bit, coming from the Jaguars. The Lions defensive line coach Todd Wash coached him there as the defensive coordinator. Karen Reed, you want to bring Karen Reed back, also with the Jaguars last year. The problem again is we're not talking about guys with starting level talent.
Yeah, you're not upgrading your current position, so what's the point?
Pretty much.
So on that note, I feel like I'll just punt it back to Jeremy, and we go. Actually, is it Ryan's turn? I've kind of lost track on this miserable thing.
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
You want to take linebackers, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll take linebackers. The situation there for the Lions, Jamie Collins just restructured. You have some guys that the Lions are clearly interested in, apparently, with Jalen Reeves-Maybin. They're trying to work out a potential deal with him. Then some guys that are already in-house, Jelani Tavai, Anthony Pittman, and Sean Dion Hamilton. I don't know. Jeremy, what do you think about a Jared Davis reunion? Does that seem to make any sense to you?
It seems inevitable at this point, right? Like, I mean, just with everything he said that Dan Campbell has said this offseason, sounds like he loves him a lot. Jared Davis is a guy that I think likes Detroit. I think he's I mean, based on everything he said and done in the city, it seems like he's really put his all into this franchise, and I don't think he feels that they've done him dirty or anything like that. I mean, is there a team that would have given Jared Davis as many chances as the Lions have over the past 4 years? I don't think so. So I think they'd be interested in bringing him back. He'll be cheap. Maybe this coaching staff can find a way to utilize all that crazy athleticism he has in a better way than it's been used. I'm not exactly excited about that. The problem is, like, this is one of the Lions' worst positions, but I don't see much changing. Like, if they're interested in bringing Jared Davis back, if they're interested in bringing Jalen Reeves-Maybin back, Jamie Collins is locked in for another year. Jelani Tavai, given that he's only in the early ends of his career, third year on his rookie deal, not that expensive, not going to save you that much if you cut him. I mean, the only difference here is that you cut Christian Jones and you basically cross your fingers and hope that, hey, our coaching staff is better now, so hopefully everyone else performs better. And I don't know, like, Alex Anzalone, is that a guy that's going to get you all excited? Maybe, maybe not.
No, I think we looked at the class, I mean, the free agent class for linebacker in a former podcast, and there's just, like, without going completely way overboard, which, again, the Lions are not in a position to do for a guy like, even an older guy like Von Miller or Melvin Ingram. Like, there's just no way that the Lions can really, like, there's just no, like, you're not going to go and get Kyle Van Noy again. Come on. Like, there's no linebackers out there that really move the needle. And as many problems as I don't have a problem with anything Jared Davis brings to the table in athleticism. I think I have problems with what he brings to the table in his lack of bringing to the table, I should say, in form, in, his inability to tackle. And how he said he was going to work on being a better coverage linebacker, and he let every pass that was targeted to him as a defender go through in 2020 and basically lost his starting job. But I don't know. It'll be chance 3 for Jared Davis at this point. He didn't cut it with Terrell Austin, didn't cut it with Patricia and Pasqualoni. So maybe they try one more time. I mean, if you can make him work, you can make him work. I definitely see the athleticism that makes people go for him. It's just, yeah, I think with the situation, though, it's just you're going to have to resolve it in-house. And that sucks because right now, as you say, worst unit for the Lions defense.
Yep.
You're not expecting them to go make a run at a guy like Denzel Perryman? Chargers ties there.
Yeah, I think Denzel Perryman's one of those guys who is a 2-down linebacker. Like, he's almost kind of like the same guy as Jared Davis, but it's just going to be like a different flavor. I think that he's a better run defender. So I think that he would fit better, I think, in the Saints defense, just because they want those gap control guys. And I think that Jared Davis is just a dog chasing cars. So when it comes to getting somebody who's disciplined and who can do that stuff, like, sure, like Denzel Perryman makes sense, but he's not a guy that you can keep on the field in third down. Maybe a guy like KJ Wright, or maybe they want to go with a guy like, as you mentioned, Alex Anzalone, because of the familiarity and the ability to play coverage a little bit. But it's without a doubt the position that needs the biggest upgrade, because I think it's really important to the success of the defense. The linebacker position is really important, especially for this defense that I think they're going to want to run here, bringing Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell.
So draft Micah Parsons. Yep. Got it.
No.
let's keep the draft stuff. We're gonna hit that real soon, sure. But Jeremy, what where are we looking at cornerbacks right now as we move into the backfield?
Yeah, corner's interesting here. We had a little discussion about this on our locker room Q&A here, where I think me and Eric and Ryan all see things a little differently, because obviously the Lions have already made the moves to cut Justin Coleman, and they will be cutting Desmond Trufant. They haven't officially done it yet. And that just leaves them with 3 guys that are signed, essentially. Jeff Okuda, Amani Orwari, and Mike Ford, a guy who they re-signed earlier this week. I don't know. I mean, Jeff Okuda obviously has to be your starter. Has to be a starter this year. Amani Orwari, I'm just not too sure on. I'm not sure he's ready. I'm not. He's in his 3rd year, so he has to be, like, it's now or never.
He has to be ready.
Yeah.
He has to be. He has to be ready.
But at the same time, I don't know if he's your guy. I mean, he's a 5th-round pick. He wasn't particularly good last year. No one really was, and certainly Jeff Okuda wasn't either. But I think the Lions absolutely have to get at least a couple corners in free agents this year, and obviously the nickel spot is something that is just unresolved right now. And maybe bringing a guy like Darryl Roberts back helps solve that. But I think they need to bring someone in to push these guys, if not just push them, but guide them along. Because I know you got Aaron Glenn, who was a great corner in this league, but they need a player in there too that knows how to do this, because they don't have one there right now.
Yeah, I think there are a couple interesting names, Jeremy, obviously with ties to Brad Holmes, Nickel, Roby Coleman. Maybe if they want to go for a cheap 1-year solution for a veteran at the slot cornerback position, I think he makes a lot of sense.
For sure.
There's some other names that are out there, but I don't know if at this point, I think the Lions do probably want to target somebody in free agency to fill some of these cornerback needs, because the problem is that they have these young guys that are at the top of the depth chart. I think that they want to probably get a veteran presence. I mean, don't rule out maybe a Janoris Jenkins signing now that the Saints cut him.
That could be interesting. Like, I think a Janoris Jenkins signing could be really interesting, considering he's what, 33 right now. Like, yeah. He's not going to get too many more contracts in his. What's that?
I'm surprised to hear he's that old. I mean, it feels like he just came out in the draft.
Yeah, but I mean, 9 years experience in the league, and he's probably going to come at a premium, but I don't think he's going to be anticipating, like, he's going to want to probably try to get as many years because it might be one of his last contracts. But I think either you can make that team friendly, or you could just try to get him on like kind of an intermediary deal too for like 2 years.
Jeremy, what do you think about a couple of names like Troy Hill or Ronald Darby? Those guys are probably going to cost a little bit more. So I guess my question is, are you comfortable with the Lions shelling out some coin to get a corner that can kind of solidify the top of the depth chart?
It's tough. I mean, with Troy Hill, he's kind of more of a nickel, and so if you're going to shell out big for a nickel, I kind of would have just wanted to maybe see if Justin Coleman has it under a new coaching staff. So that one doesn't make as much sense to me. Who was the other one that you said?
Ronald Darby.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ronald Darby might not come as expensive, but maybe. I'm not trying to hate on Amani Orwari. I just feel like everyone's kind of holding him up. I mean, like I said on the Q&A, like, everyone's been holding this guy on a pedestal because they thought he was going to be a second-round pick, but guess what? All 32 teams passed on him in the second round, passed on him in the third round, passed on him in the fourth round, and he hasn't done anything to really show me that he's capable of being a starter. So I think cornerback's a very, very important position in this league, and you don't want to spare any expense. The question is, do you want to spare the expense now, or do you want to spare it 2 years down the line when you're really competing?
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap up with safety, shall we? Or we should probably get some specialists in there, but I feel like that's easy enough on specialist. Jeremy,
we'll see. But yeah, let's go safety.
Okay. Let's go safety. So, the Lions they're going to have Tracy Walker, Will Harris, CJ Moore, Jalen Elliott, and Godwin. Oh my God.
Igwebuike.
I apologize. My first time seeing it. So Duron Harmon, Miles Killebrew are the big questions coming back. So I think this is probably the best place to ask, Jeremy, is it safe to buy a Miles Killebrew jersey?
I mean,
almost the end of one of our oldest memes that has continued to this day.
I mean, one of the veterans of the name bracket tournament and a contender every single year. I wouldn't say it's safe to buy one, but I see little reason not to bring him back. He's been a special teams leader. He's flexible. He was the NFLPA kind of a representative for the Lions last year, so there's leadership abilities there. He's not going to come all that expensive unless he's thinking at this point in his career he might get a chance to start on some defense, which if he's thinking that, I think he might be a little bit delusional. But special teamer, like he's a great special teamer, and you need those on the roster. And CJ Moore is a guy that can also do it, that's already under contract. But Jalen Elliott is, a guy who was undrafted, don't really know what you got. He was, with a different regime. I don't know how much value he's going to bring. I think Miles Killebrew is an easy re-signing. Deron Harmon's out the door. I don't think he was a leader. He was I think character wise, the Lions have got to like a guy like him. But he's a former Patriot. He's a guy that I just think fit better with the previous scheme. So don't expect him to come back.
Yeah, I think that's right. And he had a decent enough year as best as he could for a 2020 Lion as well. So I think he'll just probably go find some. He'll either go back to New England and follow Matt Patricia, or he'll probably find a pretty decent contract somewhere else.
I think one interesting name for me is Cameron Sutton from the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of their max exodus of trying to figure out how to figure out the cap with Ben Roethlisberger. Sutton is a guy who kind of, suffers from Romeo Okwara syndrome in that he had only played like 621 career snaps in his first few seasons. But then last season he played 552 snaps in 2020 alone. So what's interesting about him though is that he's one of those chess pieces that can be moved around and play like slot corner. Yeah. He can play out wide. He can play strong safety up in the box. So maybe the Lions try to go the economical route where they can get a guy who can do multiple things and fit that mold of what they're trying to do on defense.
So what do you guys think? I mentioned our friend John Whitaker in the past earlier in this podcast, as far as his ability of like telling the future, and he wants the Lions to go after John Johnson. And I know he had some pretty good grades. I think his 2020 PFF grade, he was like the third among safeties, I believe.
85.6, huge grade.
Huge grade, which, I mean, he already had a strong 2018, but he had dipped pretty hard in 2019. So he's been a little up and down, but I know his name is kind of flying around as a free agent. Again, another guy with Rams ties to that Brad Holmes would probably know all about. So like, are you feeling that, or you think the bid for John Johnson might be a little too spicy?
I mean, to me, there's no question. If the Lions are going to make a splash, this has to be the guy. Undeniable. I mean, the 1 year that he was below an 80 PFF grade was the one in which he only played 6 games because of injury. He's been phenomenal. He's purely a Brad Holmes guy, a guy drafted in the 3rd round who has all-pro potential. All-pro potential. I don't think I'm overstating it. That's how good this guy is. He comes in already knowing the system that you're going to use, comes in already coached by Aubrey Pleasant. I mean, he's a guy that just like fits everything that this team is going to want. He's going to be a leader. He's going to be a key cog in the team's future. So that's the reason why you spend it on a guy like him, is because he's only 25, 26 years old, super young, available, someone that your coaching staff and your front office is already very, very familiar with. And there's an opening, right? There's an opening besides Tracy Walker, because not a lot of us are thrilled about Will Harris potentially starting. This, I mean, checks every single box of what you want in a free agent. The only question is money. The only question is money. And will the Lions be willing to shell out a lot of money for a guy like this for one single position that maybe isn't the highest in terms of, turning a franchise around? Getting a lockdown safety isn't high on necessarily the the totem pole of needs, but I mean, it just makes a ton of sense. The question is whether they want to get in a bidding war.
Oh, man. I got a few things to say about everything you just laid down, Jeremy. One, how reminiscent of it would it be of the Glover Quinn signing? Because it seemed like Glover Quinn was a low-key move that really helped transform that defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, they had other players, right? I mean, Sue and Fairley and DeAndre Levy. But, like, Glover Quinn was, like, that piece that seemed to, like, bring all of it together. He was a locker room presence. He was a leader for the defensive backfield. Maybe John Johnson can be that guy. But I think it comes back to Chris's original point of, do you want to get into a bidding war? Because maybe the Chargers might want him. Brandon Staley, moving over to be the head coach there.
Yep.
Pair him with Derwin James, and all of a sudden you have the best safety combo in the entire league. Who knows? But I wouldn't be super upset with it for the singular reason that maybe it'll improve Will Harris's play, because John Johnson, also a former Boston College player.
Get all the former BC guys, man.
Yeah.
Or just replace one with another.
Yeah.
Or that could happen too. Yeah.
That could happen too. That could absolutely. All right, let's cap it off. We are way over here, and I just want to get this to the door. Specialists time.
We have to talk about something that we haven't talked about, I think, all offseason, and it's a real issue. Not Don Muhlbeck. He's getting resigned.
Okay, good.
Matt Prater. I think Matt Prater is something that we need to talk about right now, because I don't think it's a guarantee that he's back.
I am fascinated right now because I just saw the Bears splurge the hell on Cairo Santos.
That's right.
And I'm baffled by that. I'm baffled by that, but yet at the same time, I kind of wonder how many other kickers are going to be like, I wonder if I could get Cairo Santos money.
Can I make a case for why Matt Prater should be back?
Sure.
Even after a down season. Look at the rest of his career. I mean, do we think that he just completely lost it? And guess what? If he did, well, sign him to a 1-year deal. Maybe he's going to come a little bit cheaper because he had that down season in 2020. And you can see whether or not he still has it. And if he still has the juice, awesome. You can sign him to a contract extension for all I care mid-season in 2021 to lock him down. But I'm just
you
not.
You could bring in some like competition for him in camp too, just to see.
They've already got a guy in Matthew Wright. I don't know much about him. Yeah. He hasn't played a lot, but he's signed currently.
Yeah.
So I think he's worth bringing back, because what we've seen out of Matt Prater is a top 5 kicker in the NFL. He had a down season in 2020, no doubt about it. But do we think that the wheels have fallen completely off?
No, if only because you want to look at the alternatives out there. Like, I mean, the other guys are going to be on the market are going to be guys like, Steven Gutskowski, or actually, I can't remember what Dan Bailey did last year, but he was a Minnesota kicker. So I'm not quite as, I'm sure there's probably some bad juju on that, but it's weird, right? Because I feel like for every kicker at some point, you're just going to get those bad years. It's especially with the way kicking has kind of gone in the league. Like, again, even a guy like I mentioned, Gutskowski was, money a long time ago and just has kind of fallen off. And it's not even fallen off. It's just you hit a bad year somewhere there. And it was weird for Prater too, because you could still nail the long ones, but then you get him on for like an extra point and just be going wild. So I don't know what the issue is.
I think you guys are looking upon this wrong. I have no question about Matt Prater's ability. I think if that was the only thing in question, you resign him. The question here is, do you want to spend $4, $5 million, $6 million a year on a 36-year-old kicker?
No, that's
in the middle of a rebuild.
That's another fair point too. I'm sure you could get a guy like Cody Parkey or Nick Folk or Ryan Suckup a lot cheaper.
Like, if it means the difference between getting John Johnson and not, I'm kind of okay having a shitty kicker in 2021.
You remember how hard it was to find a kicker after Jason Hansen, though?
Yes. And a Matt Prater is not going to fall into the laps the way it did when the Broncos released him and all that stuff. That's 100% a point worth bringing up. But I just think, like, it's kind of a splurge to keep Matt Prater. And I don't think we know he wants to be here. We know he's coming off a down year. So maybe maybe this is all kind of lining up to get him at a deal where, you're paying less than he's probably worth. But I don't know if that number reaches $4 or $5 million, I think you have to reconsider whether you should re-sign him.
I don't know if it'll get that much, but I think, I'm looking at, Spot Track is saying 2020 AAV probably 3.8 million for Prater, and let's assume it goes down a little bit. Still around 3 million is still seems like a bit of a splurge for me. You'd want to go a little south of 3 million. Again, if you're trying to save money and go somewhere else.
I don't think you're going to get him for less than 3 million. I don't think there's
no. I'm saying you're not going to get Prater for
right.
That's I know that. I don't think you'll get Prater below 3 million, but I'm saying, like, do you want to spend more than 3 million on a kicker in a rebuilding year?
Don't know.
We leave that to you, the listener.
Dear listener. But we do leave it to you to the formality that Don Muhlbach will be back.
Yeah. It hasn't happened yet, but it will. Death
taxes Don Muhlbach. Thank you all for listening to the Pride of Detroit POD cast. I think that's about it. We went long on this one, but this is everything you're going to need. Monday, tampering period begins. Wednesday, league calendar begins. We will celebrate the beginning of the league calendar, probably emergency podcast during the week as big, hot, and sweaty news drops, and we will talk all about it. And again, if you haven't listened, go listen to the Deuce Staley podcast. So for myself, for Jeremy Reisman, for Ryan Matthews, we're out of here. I'm Chris Perfett. We will see you Starside.
All right.
Okay. Sorry. My nose is really itching right now. So it's like, I know someone was complaining about it, but it's just
2-hour podcast.
Yeah. We're probably not going to hang around too long here, folks, because I have a Saturday to be had.
I have to sleep.
He has to sleep. Ryan has a family to deal with.
I have a parlay to deal with.
Not deal with.
You have a part. Yeah. He has
a parlay to deal with and a family to be with, and hopefully both of those things can align themselves.
Really quick before we go, thank you to Jetty F Baby for gifting a sub to X Vengeance. Appreciate that. We got a lot of subs today, which I always appreciate. Just over 200 subs on the channel right now, including a tier 2 in there. Curly wants to know what the parlay is.
I can't say it or else it jinxes it, but okay. It's
I know you took Ohio State in the points. It's fine.
I mean, it's where the action was.
I knew it.
They Michigan lost Isaiah Livers to
I'm aware, to an injury.
Okay. Yeah. I know you're aware because Adam Schefter tweeted it. That's the only reason why you know.
No, because it's March. It's March. If it would have happened 2 weeks ago, I would have no idea.
Okay.
I got nothing on this tournament, man. I got nothing.
When are we getting that Ryan gambling stream? Asks my buddy Marvin.
Funny enough, Chris and I have kicked this idea around.
We have a name.
We do, that I'm very proud of.
You would love this once we unveil it. I think the question is just when we're going to do it, Ryan. Do you want to do it in the off season, or do you want to wait for the NFL season itself?
I think to put it on this feed and to give it to the people, I think that maybe we wait for like preseason of the NFL.
That's about right, because we're gonna miss unless we get it like this week. We're kind of missing the other big window for gambling, which is the tournament itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can probably get on here in like the preseason, maybe do like an NFL futures gambling little stream. Division winners, MVPs, rookie of the years, and things like that. And then
you could be really degenerate and just start gambling on preseason games.
That is one low that I will never sink to. Like
that is something we will do. We have a segment on one of the shows I do.
Clip it, chat. Hold him to it.
We have a segment on one of the shows I do overnight called Bottom Barrel Betting. And that is something we will do. We will gamble on like spring training games and preseason games and like European darts games and rugby and esports. And it pisses the guy off who does it. But we hold his feet to the fire every time.
See, it's just no. I can't bet on spring training baseball. That's
the point. It's bottom barrel betting.
I know. I've been burned one too many times by the Chinese Basketball Association.
Oh my God, you're already at bottom barrel betting then. We should, you know what, that might have to be a part of the podcast itself.
Hey, there's no other viable sports games that I can get on a stream at 6:35 in the morning.
CFL does start a month before spring training. I mean, before preseason.
Jeremy's stressed out just listening to me.
Yeah, I am 100%. 100%.
No, I think we talked.
I'm worried that Goose isn't going to have food to eat.
Goose.
So we do have some guests in mind for it too. We're just excited because I don't think me and Ryan have been able to like do a one-on-one and just let our hair down.
Do you think you'll be able to get Adam Sandler?
If we roped Adam Sandler for our gambling podcast, I would shut down the feed. That would be it.
Even if the highlight. No,
if we could get a soundbite of Adam Sandler introducing our gambling podcast.
Let's check. Is he on Cameo? Is he on?
Can we put some of this Twitch money towards Cameo? Can we put some of this Twitch money towards Cameo?
Chat. Look. Is he or Garnett? Maybe Garnett too. Sure.
KG.
maybe get the weekend.
I'll settle for Mike Francesa if we can get the king himself.
Oh jeez.
Just to tell us that it's a terrible bet.
I'm looking right now. Oh, that's not how you spell Adam Sandler's name. No Adam Sandler. There's a musician named Adam Sanders.
You know what, Jeremy? I was even going to accept if they had like an Adam
lookalike?
Sandler impressionist.
We could probably find someone with that voice. Jesus Christ. This is a terrible idea.
This would be the perfect allocation of funds.
I'm going to lose so much money trying to follow you in the betting for that season.
Don't actually put money on things. Just lose it for the listeners. Just have the listeners lose it. All right.
Skin in the game, man.
I'm done with this. We're done here. Let's go raid Alex Reno. He's looking at some college film.
Oh, come on.
Here, Goose.
Oh, come on. What?
We spoil Alex all the time.
You want me to raid Dr. Lupo?
No.
Like, no.
No. I'm saying it's fine to raid Alex. I'm just saying we spoil him a lot.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
For a guy who doesn't come on the podcast anymore.
All right. Well, if you are on Twitch and you want to continue to talk Lions, we are rating Alex Reno. He is watching, it looks like, some college tapes, so that'll be fun. Hopefully, at one point, he'll start writing about college stuff again. We'll cross our fingers with that. But until then, like Chris said, next time we'll be on here is probably talking about some emergency podcasts. Could come as soon as Monday or Tuesday when deals are agreed to. So
we're still working it out too, but I might on either Monday or Wednesday also like just kind of sit around and take your guys' questions as well on Twitch, just to just keep you guys company until big news hits. We'll do like a league calendar year countdown,
something like that. Yeah. So keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you're followed on YouTube and Twitch so that you get notifications when we go live. Follow us on all the socials. You know where they are. And if you missed anything today, the podcast will be up tomorrow morning. So keep your eyes out for that. But until then, enjoy some college tape. Enjoy your Saturday. Go Blue. Ohio State sucks. Bye, everybody.
Right on.
Just win by 7.5.